hoping it will be cheaper
Sorry.
for people to. It's
And
okay.
it's Kentucky, not Tennessee.
Oh, I love Tennessee. I wanted to go back to Tennessee. You're right. It is in Kentucky. Florence, Kentucky. Lost my thought there. Oh, my theme. I'm going to go with empowering volunteers, and I'll use a little bit different every year. For this first year, I'm doing Celebrate Our Past, and I really want to recognize clubs and states or members that have been in our organization for a long period of time. We have clubs who have 100-year history with being organized as a club. FCE hasn't been here that long. I think we have 80 years, 30, 34, 36, whichever year that is that we were organized. But some of our states were organized, some of our clubs were organized before then. And so I just want to recognize them for the work they have done. The conference will be for members. It's August the 3rd through the 6th. The board will be there before and after that doing things. Judy told me that the office is stacked high with boxes. People have sent in secretary records, and financial records need to be filed, and we just need to do a lot of putting things away that doesn't happen if board members aren't there. And we haven't been there probably since COVID. It has made it difficult. I'll go ahead and mention now, states, you might be working on your program awards and recognitions for conference. Those are all due into headquarters April the 15th. And most of the forms are available on the website. If you have trouble, just contact the board member, or maybe your state president would be able to help, but I think you can find those all on the website. I don't have anything else, so I think we're ready to start. We started last time with the Hearth Fire blurbs. They're commercial because they will be presenting these programs at our conference. Don't everybody go.
Okay.
Kristen, I
we
can see yours. Okay, there's Linda. Linda can go.
Hi,
Yeah.
I'm Linda Handvarian from Mississippi, and the program we're working on is a Hearth Fire. It's going to be number 78. Kristen and I have been working on it, and thanks to Kristen, she's great with computers. Thank you, Kristen. I just have this question. When was the last time you heard it's time for dinner or breakfast is ready? That's a question that I always heard. Get yourself in here, it's time. But we've gone away from that. Our program is discovering how the simple act of eating together greatly benefits you and your children, and ways to meet the dinner time challenge of everyday life. So hope you'll join us for the conference.
If we're not going in order, I'll go next.
Okay.
As unique as we all are, we still have common experiences and common needs. As time progresses, generations of people have common experiences that affect their perspective, their understandings, and their needs. As a result, conflicts can arise among groups of people. If you're looking for ways to prevent or resolve conflicts that may be a result of generational differences, NAFC, National FCE, has just what you're looking for. Coming to Conference 2023, Appreciating Generational Differences.
Thank you, Kristen.
Is Margaret here?
I don't believe she is.
Then I'll go ahead and do the Hearthfire series, number 77, The Silent Killer, Facts About Ovarian Cancer. It's been developed and taught by Margaret Poland, past National FCE president, and myself as a program coordinator. Why has ovarian cancer been known as a silent killer? Because the symptoms of ovarian cancer are thought to develop only after the disease has reached advanced stage, therefore largely incurable. Because the presenting symptoms often mistaken for other benign conditions, especially those that affect the gastric system or the changes in women's body as they age. The myth of ovarian cancer as being a silent killer is fading away. Modern clinicians and primary care providers are recognizing the early signs instead of blowing them off as just gastro problems or nerves, or female problems, they would say too. More lives will be saved when the patient and medical practitioner work together.
Hello. I'm Emily Gordon. And I'm from Tennessee, and you're welcome to Tennessee anytime. Super to see so many of us online. My FCL program is Music Magic. And Linda helped me put all this together. We'll have you tapping your foot as you explore why music is so powerful in our brains, why music learned years ago is recognized by the aging brain, while something learned yesterday isn't, and why moods are so powerfully affected by music. The lesson uses song title recall, songs with hand motions, and ends with a seated line dance. Participants will gain insight into music therapy for the aging brain. Look forward to presenting in August and hope you will attend national conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. We have commercials now for our two of our fundraisers that we're doing at this time. Kristen again or Bonnie, either one.
Okay, I have where did it go? I have a fundraiser for the book Living Life Awake, and Scott Teeples is going to roll. Do you have it ready, Scott?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna go mute everybody first. So Kristen, you'll need to remember you're muted when you come back. Oh, I gotta do something first.
Is there anybody in your family that you're concerned about? Or are there any high school students or young adults that are in college and they have a lot of dreams and plans, and you want to give them a boost and help them get on the right track or stay on the right track? I wrote Living Life Awake for the teenager and the young adult to help them use knowledge of the brain to create a mind prepared for their future. This is helpful for parents and grandparents, aunts, uncles, to help students, to help children, teenagers understand how really the mind and brain works, so they can make decisions that are sound. The second part of the book is the immune system for the soul, and it is to help for those times that our teenagers, young adults, we are discouraged. The second part is faith-based with science support, and the first part about the brain is science-based that is faith-supported. $5 of the ebook when you go to Archway Publishing and download the ebook. It's $5. 100%, all $5 goes to National FCE. If you get the book, again, 100% of the proceeds, 100% of the profits goes to National FCE. But the information will help take your teenager, take your young adult to places they want to go.
Right. So there it is.
And Kirsten, I might mention that that information is also on the national website on the quick links page.
Thanks.
And I want to thank you, Kristen, for doing that for us. I haven't got it yet, but I'm looking forward to getting it ordered because I have like 6 grandchildren that qualify there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I need to read it for them.
Yeah. So, yeah, there is a lot of information in that, and you could just take whatever helps you in that particular time in your life.
Okay. Is Bonnie there for the?
I am.
Yes.
So I don't know how many of you know, but Scott and I own an antique craft and collectible mall, and we've been donating space in our mall for several years for different groups who are trying to earn money for their organization. We have set up a booth for National FCE, and it's actually doing very well. We do have a lot of members who have sent boxes of items. We've received a couple of boxes of jewelry from Emily. We've received a couple of boxes from Judy Fulmer, and I know there's a box coming on the way from Connie. I brought some boxes home from National Conference. We are doing well in the booth. I think we're doing really well. We started off in a small booth, and I made a video for the national board one night and showed them how full it was and told them that pretty soon we'd have to be moving out of that into a bigger one. And that has happened. We have, I had a really large booth come open that's very difficult to rent. And so I've given up some of my own personal space and the National FCE space, and we've joined that together. We are averaging about $250 a month, sometimes more, sometimes a little less, but it's been doing well since we started in the end of July. Items that are selling well are the jewelry, hand towels, crocheted or knitted dishcloths, hats, scarves. We've had some hot pads sell. Judy Fulmer made some cute little coin purses, and they're a good seller. I'm pleased with the things that are selling. We will take donations from anyone. I just want to caution you, you don't necessarily want to send anything really heavy to begin with. It'll probably cost you more than what the item will bring in the store. The vendor that moved out, that left the very big booth, is moving to South Carolina. So she didn't want a lot of her glassware, and she donated it to our National FCE. So a lot of that is still selling. It's just been a really good fundraiser for our state, and I think it's going to be a good fundraiser for national. I will tell you that even customers are donating to it. We have a gentleman and his wife who are very good customers of the store. They came in several weeks ago and brought in some antique snowshoes, skis, and ice skates. And he asked me to distribute them between our fundraising booths. So National got the snowshoes and they sold less than 2 weeks after we got them. I'd put a price on them of $200 and I did accept an offer of $160. So, you know, those kind of things are really good. And I know none of you can send me antique snowshoes, but that was a real boon to the booth. Scott wants me to remind you that on the national website, there are forms, how to fill out your tags. It really helps me if you send your items priced, or even if all you want to do is tag them and ask us to set a price on them, that would be fine. But you do need to have the booth number on it. They're the vendor number, not the booth number. And it is, it's on all that information on the national website. You can find it under quick links. Just a reminder that we do not take any of the commission, and National is not being charged rent for the space. It's simply a donation from the store for the organization. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me or call me, and we can get you set up to send some stuff and help National earn some more money. Thanks, Judy.
Did that show up on the,
It did.
It did.
okay,
And thank you, Bonnie. And I want to thank you and Scott for donating this to us. We talk about things being free, but they're not free. There is a cost someplace. Somebody's paying something for something. The same way with this Zoom meeting. Scott has generously allowed us to have Zoom meetings on his computer setup. We appreciate it. We couldn't do some of the stuff we do. I also will just mention, I mentioned conference earlier, but we have lowered the price of the registration to $300, hoping that more people will be able to attend. In order to do that, none of the board is going to receive any mileage unless we have, I think we'd have to have over 100 people attend before we would think about mileage. And then we may not be able to pay full mileage, but until then, I told him not to be counting on any reimbursements for mileage to come. Probably most of us will be able to drive. There may be a few that will be flying, but we hope that that will be an incentive for people to come to conference and see what's going on and help us. Is the next thing the icebreaker?
yes.
I'm asking, I still don't have my printer working, so I wasn't able to print this off again.
Scavenger hunt, lightning scavenger hunt.
Scavenger hunt. Okay, I'm going to try something a little bit different this time. Could you type into the chat box the food that you found in your house that starts with the first letter of your name? And we'll see what people have. Okay, I'm going to start reading them. Marjorie has mustard. Rita has radishes. Faye has Frank's again. Soda from Scott. I have jam. Regina has rice. Kristen has ketchup. Jean has Jell-O. Curtis has an apple. Allie has an apple. Linda has a lime. Emily has eggs. I think that's Kathy has cabbage. Connie has carrots. Susie has sweet peas and salmon. So thank you for sharing all of those. The reason we were asking about that is because Connie's going to be giving the lesson, and we're going to be talking about how we save food or how food gets wasted. So if you think about the item that you put in there, and is that something that you can easily, do you use it all up or do you end up throwing part of it away? It's just something to think about as she gives her lesson. Now we have a bowl of oatmeal from Bonnie, and Denise Smith, hi Denise, has drinks. So lots of different food there. So I think we're ready for you to begin, Connie.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. You can see me and you can hear me. This is different from the last time. So, yeah, I had carrots down. We're getting to the end of our season for last year's carrots. And so we've been pushing carrots around at this house a lot. So anyhow, I'm going to be talking to you tonight about food waste, which is a world crisis. There are people in the world who go to the grocery store and buy whatever they want. There's people in the world who go to the store and buy only what they can afford to buy. There are people in the world who go to the store and their shelves are empty. There are people in the world who have no store to go to. There are people in the world who dive in dumpsters looking for anything to eat. And there are people in the world who let their children eat dirt just so they'll have something in their stomachs. 1/3 of the food produced for human consumption in the world is lost or wasted globally, which amounts to about 1.3 billion tons per year. This program will help you to understand the issue and how much each person can help to solve the problems of hunger in our world. We'll discuss the issue of food, what food waste in our homes, our communities, our country, and our world. One of the goals for the Associated Country Women of the World is zero hunger. Sustainable Development Goal number 2 is to end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. While there is food available to feed everyone, many people, including children, still go hungry. Goal 2 focuses on addressing inadequate and outdated agricultural processes, food waste, and environmental degradation to ensure that no one goes hungry. We must improve the way that food is grown now and for the future without causing damage to nature. Okay, this is a, okay, it says, this program will explain some of the issues and the problems regarding the food crisis and help each of us learn how we will be able to turn this into a way to eliminate food waste in our homes, our communities, our country, and our world. Each of us has the opportunity or the obligation to support our partners around the world by doing our part to reduce food waste. And I would like to share my favorite quote here is, if it is to be, it is up to me. I'm going to share some facts from the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization from October of 2021. Number 1 is $1 trillion worth of food is wasted every year. Food is damaged as it goes through the supply chain. Edible food is thrown away by retailers and consumers. But by reversing this trend, it would preserve enough food to feed 2 billion people, twice the number of undernourished people across the globe. Food waste is one of the largest producers of carbon. Food waste and food loss have significant impact on the global warming. When wasted food goes to the landfill, it rots and emits greenhouse gases that damage our environment. Each year, 3 billion tons of greenhouse gases are emitted because of food waste. To put this into perspective, if wasted food were a country, it would be the third largest producer of carbon dioxide in the world after the United States and China. 30 to 40% of food in the United States is wasted. 30 to 40% accounts to more than 20 pounds of food per person for each month. This happens at the production and supply chain level where food is damaged or spoiled. It also happens at the retail level where food is thrown away due to blemishes or getting close to the expiration date. Or by the grocer or the producer buying more than they need. At the consumer level, where people buy more than they need and throw out unused food. Rich countries waste as much as the sub-Saharan Africa produces. America, Europe, and Asia collectively waste 222 million tons of food each year. In contrast, countries of sub-Saharan Africa produce 230 million tons of food each year. So we waste as much as they produce. Our food systems are exhausting our soil and our water. The amount of water used to produce food that ends wasted could fill Lake Geneva 3 times. And of the world's arable land, 28% produces food that ends up in the trash bins rather than in hungry stomachs. In 2015, the UN created the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, a blueprint for peace and prosperity for the world. In it are 17 goals to reach by the year 2030. Goal number 12 is to ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns, and that includes cutting food waste in half by 2030. And from what I'm reading and seeing, I don't think that's happening at this time, and we're not too far away from 2030. The UN World Food Program helps reduce food loss. Post-harvest food loss often occurs because of poor storage equipment. The UN World Food Program is helping farmers in 5 key areas. They are harvesting, drying, thrashing, polarization or politicize, and storage. Through the airtight storage containers, this can help farmers cut their post-harvest food losses from 40% to fewer than 2%. World food programs find new ways to distribute food. Another cause of food loss in developing countries is damage and decay during transportation. Inadequate infrastructure can cause delays in delivery, especially in remote areas. The World Food Program is providing cargo bikes to mostly female farmers to areas to increase their access markers. They are building better roads and boosting access to local markets, and including sourcing school meals and locally grown crops. A lot of this is part of the third world country development. In developing countries, food losses occur in the production chain and hit small farmers the hardest. It's estimated that 30 to 40% of the total production can be lost before it reaches the market. And in industrialized countries, food waste refers to food that has reached the market. shopping habits of affluent consumers who have throwaway mindsets and buy more than their families can eat are just a part of the problem. In an even bigger picture, whether it's the production loss or retail waste, such squandering reduces the food supply available in the market. This in turn is likely to raise prices, especially in developing countries where consumers can't afford such increases. At this time, when food is wasted, so are the energy and the resources, such as the land and the water that went into growing and producing these products. In a world that needs to double the food production in order to meet the demands of a population expected to increase from 7 billion today to 9 billion by 2050, this colossal loss of food during the farm to fork production chain is tragic. Overall, it's quite simple. It's quite a simple scenario the world cannot afford. We're going to talk a little bit about where food is wasted or lost. Food waste is a growing problem that affects all of consumers and how it impacts hunger, food insecurity, food cost, and environment. By reducing food waste in your own home, you will not only save money, but you will help conserve natural resources like air, soil, and water quality, and make a possible impact on food insecurity and hunger. Food waste is defined as edible food that's discarded and goes uneaten. It's estimated that 40% of the food grown on farms in the United States will never make it to the table. Food is wasted everywhere, from the farm to the table. But in the United States, most of our food is wasted later in the food supply chain with retailers, restaurants, food service, and in households like yours and mine. Consumers are the biggest offenders, wasting approximately 15 to 20% of our food. This includes the half-eaten meal left on the plate in a restaurant, food scraps from preparing a meal at home, and the soiled milk that family pours down the drain. Let's start in our own homes. Last summer before a conference, when I was planning to give this program, for 1 week, I made a very conscious effort of not wasting food. And so I kept very close track of how much food that actually was thrown out. And I had about 2 cups of food in 1 week. Granted, that was a very conscientious effort, and I was thinking about it a lot. There was one meal that I even suggested to my husband that he needed to eat a half a pancake just so we didn't have to throw it out, which that was fine. And we have worked on this. So it's something you really have to think about. And if you really put some effort into it, you get a lot done. Okay, let's start in our own homes. What percent of the food that is brought into your home do you think is wasted? Did you throw anything out from your refrigerator in the last year? What about the last month? What about last week? How many pounds of food would you guess that you throw out every month? This includes what you feed the dog off the table. Edible food means food consumption for humans only. How many unfinished beverages did you throw away? On average, Americans throw out 23 pounds of potentially edible food per person each month. Not only is it wasted, but it's expensive. This waste costs the average family of 4 as much as $190 per month. And that is 2017 figures. So, we know how much food costs have raised. So we're probably looking at a lot more now. The 90 billion pounds of edible food that's wasted each year in our country costs consumers at least $370 per person. Pound for pound, fruit and vegetable are the most likely foods to be wasted due to spoilage. This does not include the inedible portions of fruit and vegetables like bananas, peels, or onion skins. While we're wasting 40% of our food, 1 in 6 Americans, 1 in 5 children are food insecure. That means that they don't have regular access to enough food for a healthy, active life. For the more than 48 million people in the United States who face hunger, putting food on the table every day is a struggle and often means making impossible choices. Food that's thrown away is a missed opportunity to put safe, healthy food on the table for millions of Americans who don't have enough food to eat. Where does the food go in the grocery store that is perishable and getting to the end of its shelf life? Where does the food go that's getting close to its expiration date or the best buy date? Some store managers will sell things at a discounted rate or donate them to a food pantry or to a community mission. Others choose to put them in the garbage because they don't have any other options. Restaurants also often have that same difficult choice to make due to health standards and the lack of ability to store food that is required, that the meets required safety standards. This is maybe a place where a community member or a group could work with a mission or a Salvation Army, or some place where they have a food kitchen where people can go and have a good meal. That's something that more and more local communities are working on and thinking about and questioning the grocers and the retailers and the restaurants to say, what are you doing with that extra food? What happens when a truckload of food is involved in an accident traveling to make a delivery? This is just a lot of different people. The first people involved are the transportation owners and insurance agent, law enforcement, and the state food inspector. All of these people need to be satisfied before the food can be declared safe for human consumption. And it's a lengthy project, but it's a necessary one. If the food is declared unsafe, it'll simply be taken to a landfill. I've learned this from my son who was working as a state food inspector. And this is some of the things that he had to do. And I found it very interesting. He talked about a truckload of oranges, I believe, that burned. Part of it burned. Anyhow, they had to determine what they could do with it, and it ended up going to a landfill. Food waste in manufacturing. One of the main reasons that food is wasted within the manufacturing process is due to what some researchers refer to as inefficiencies. But we need to consider whether these inefficiencies lie and where these inefficiencies lie and if they are avoidable. For example, on an assembly line producing ready meals, there may be several machines operating to produce different parts of the meal. If something happens on one of the machines, rather than stop the whole system while the machine is reset, the food keeps coming, but is directed to waste. Because if they may not be able to guarantee that there's like so many ounces in each portion or something like that. But that's the reason that they just have to take it off the line. If the food keeps coming, but then it just eventually it'll work its way out. It is more efficient, both in terms of money and food resources, to lose this food than it is to stop the production for a few minutes. So what is technically inefficient may also be a food and labor efficiency. Another example, a manufacturer produces something associated with food allergy. like breakfast cereal with nuts. And they want to switch the line to produce a cereal without nuts. The production line keeps running for a significant period of time with the new product for a certain period of time before it is actually nut-free. There's always food loss associated with machinery startup, so they just keep the machines going. Volumes described on the label are calibrated based on the normal speed of production. It takes a few minutes for the machinery to meet this speed. As a result, the first few pallets or packages of food may not be able to be sold because the volume in each package is less than the calibrated standard. This is why stopping the production line when faults occur is actually more wasteful than restarting produces more unsellable and edible food than redirection does. New products developed also create a lot of potential food waste because the production process must be calibrated and trained, carried out to ensure the high volumes are produced in the taste. Okay, new products require a lot of potential. New product development also creates a lot of food waste because it takes a lot of practice actually to get all of this done. Okay, and food waste in agriculture. Losses at the farm level are probably about 15 to 35%, depending on the industry. Much of the loss in agriculture is weather related, whether it's drought, floods, disease, or other natural disasters. Food loss and waste also amount to a major squandering of resources, including water, land, energy, labor, capital, and needlessly produced greenhouse gas emissions. Storage can also be a problem for farmers. Food that is not able to be used in agriculture is referred to as food loss rather than food waste. Fruits and vegetables are some of the most perishable products in the market due to the short shelf life and lack of proper storage. The hierarchy calls for cutting down on the amount of surplus food that is produced. First, feeding hungry people with leftover food, then feeding animals, then using it in an anaerobic processing, then composting, and finally sending the rest to landfills. Each of these things is a positive step, but they all require a process and a great deal of coordination to make it work. Food waste in landfill produces the third largest amount of methane emissions in the United States, 17% after petroleum and animal gas and manure, 27% according to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. According to the 2018 environmental footprints of beef cattle production in the United States agricultural system, beef production, including the production of feed, is responsible for only 3.7% of greenhouse gas emissions in the United States. Food takes up more space in landfills than anything else. Food takes up more space in landfills. Preventing food waste at the beginning of the supply chain is better for the world altogether than concentrating on what to do with what's spoiled later. The number one thing is prevention. If you don't waste food, you don't have to worry about landfills. Okay, and where does food waste come from? It comes from manufacturing, from farms, from restaurants, and from homes. And which do you think is the largest producer of the food waste? Okay. If we were all together, we could talk, we would discuss this.
But it sounds like that the consumer is the worst.
Okay, you got it. 43% of food waste comes from home. 40% comes from restaurants. And 16% of food waste comes from farms. And manufacturing only produces 2%. So yes. So it's where we're eating, where we as human beings are eating, where the food waste come from, it's the homes and the restaurants. That's 83%. Food waste in landfills has nearly tripled. In 1960, 12,200 tons of food waste went to landfills, compared to 2020, when 35,280 tons went to landfills. That is 3 times more. So the world's food waste could feed 2 billion people. Meanwhile, 25% of people in developing countries are undernourished. In low-income countries, most food loss happens due to limited harvesting capabilities, poor storage, or deficiencies in transportation, processing, or infrastructure. In some countries like Tanzania, East Africa, and Afghan, parents are known to sell their children for food. I can't fathom doing that. In medium and high income countries, food loss often happens at the consumer end and thrown out at the supermarket, restaurant, or at home. Due to increased public concern about the scale of this waste, surplus redistribution is becoming more common. It is comparatively a new activity and still somewhat experimental. There are many issues to work out, and it seems like there are lots of things that go into trying to find more creative ways to distribute leftover food or food to people in need. New tax policy, regulations, and industry standards might encourage food manufacturers to help feed people with this supply surplus food rather than to waste it or send it to aerodynamic I have the words, anaerobic digestion. And the movement of surplus requires lots of coordination between a whole range of people and organizations. Some grocery stores, as I think I stated earlier, donate already outdated but edible food to food banks. Surplus food distribution has a number of other challenges not faced in the commercial system. Those operating in the surplus system are generally reliant on unpredictable resources and volunteer labor. And says we're currently in a situation where there are hungry people in places where food is abundant, but we haven't yet worked out how best to organize the surplus food distribution system or under what circumstances each method works best. And I know in my own community here for about a year and a half, the group of people had a grant and got food boxes into the community, and volunteers distributed the food. It came in already boxed. They had some cash grant to add food to it, which they purchased at the grocery store. But it takes a lot of work. And the 2 young people that worked on it, by the time they got through their year and a half, they said not again, that they were burned out. I know my husband and I both helped with the distribution, and we had a good time. We enjoyed it. But it takes some very dedicated people that will coordinate it and keep it going. And I know it would be the same way in other communities too. Plus, there's also the regulations of what you can do, what restaurants can do with their leftover food. They've got to make sure it maintains a proper temperature. They can only do so much with it. And there's just lots of red tape that some people just simply don't want to go through. But it's worth a try. Okay. Food is not waste until it's wasted, and all that can contribute to moving it along. So if we just need to keep things moving, what can we as individuals and groups do to lessen the food waste in our own community? Many communities have started programs to provide food for the country and other programs to help families use the food that they receive. Communities can also work with the schools, restaurants, or other food service organizations to donate their leftover food to charity. And okay, I was going to say something, and the train just left the station. Okay, I'll go on. I read an article just last week in the paper, and it says ways to save on grocery bills was the name of the article. And I thought that even though we're saving on grocery bills, I thought it's a way to not to waste food. It says don't buy what you don't need. You know what's in your cupboard. Do we know what we actually have when we go to the store and think, oh, well, we want to have something for supper? Do we know what we have in the cupboard that goes with it? And they said, plan ahead. Buy in bulk when it makes sense. Actually, we probably wouldn't want to buy a box of oranges if we weren't going to eat them. But if we wanted to buy a case of paper towels, that would maybe be a good idea. And then think about convenience. Do we want something that's real convenient, or are we going to pay more for that item that is more convenient? Or would it be more beneficial for us to buy something that took us a little longer to cook? And also, a lot of your convenience foods, pre-packaged meals and so forth, probably have more salt or preservatives or different things in it that we wouldn't be eating quite as healthy. It's choices that people have to make. And then it said, which I think this is something, and I thought about looking ahead, what we can do to follow up with this lesson, or what all of us together can do. If we had a way that we could help people, there's a lot of young families that the ladies in the housekeeper, the cooks in the household probably don't have a lot of ideas. And maybe if we could find a way to help them learn to prepare meals on a budget, or use the food that is healthy and nutritious, and encourage them to do more with those things. I can see lots of possibilities here. On my news the other day, we watched public TV, and on the evening news, David Beasley, who is the CEO of the World Food Program, was on and was talking about the causes of global hunger. And he stated that there are 3 causes right now of global hunger. It's conflict, climate, and COVID. And he stated that, and I got to thinking about this, and he kind of mentioned a little too, conflict. Think about our war in Ukraine, what that has done to cause hunger in that country that was probably not before in that predicament. Think about the climate, the earthquakes in Turkey and in Syria, what they have done. They have caused hunger in that area where the people are sure they are hungry and they need a lot. And then we all know what COVID has done to our world. So I thought there was a lot of truth to that. Working on this program, it has made me think just as an individual. When I get ready to bake something or preparing a meal, I think, okay, what do I have in the refrigerator that's getting close to the expiration date? I've got some meat out. but do I have a cup of sour cream that's getting close to the expiration date? What can I do with that meat and that sour cream and to prepare a meal? And I think maybe we all need to think about those things. And it seems like everything that I cook anymore has an ingredient in it that is something that needs to go before the expiration date reaches us. So anyhow, those are just some of the things. One of the things that David Beasley said in his column was, right now, today, there are 345 million people marching towards starvation. And global hunger isn't about a lack of food. Right now, the world produces enough food to nourish every man, woman, and child on the planet. By reducing food waste by just 15%, it would provide enough substance to feed more than 25 million people. And every 45 minutes, someone in the world dies from hunger. And probably since we've been doing this program, someone in the world has died from hunger. Thank you.
Connie, you have several comments in the chat.
Oh,
Read through.
okay. I haven't had time to read.
Yeah, well, I understand.
Okay, yes, then Judy had mentioned earlier in the program this afternoon that ACWW, that we have a resolution that has been accepted by ACWW to be voted on. And Judy, you could probably explain that better than I can. So.
Well,
And this is something we can do as every club or every individual in the organization can do something on their own to make people aware of food, world or food hunger. If people are hungry. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Connie, if you scroll up, Panera Bread was mentioned. They donate their things that aren't fresh at the end of the day. They usually donate their items to either food banks or
Okay,
needy places.
okay. I know there are people that do that, and I think that's a good thing.
And Faye has
Our-
in the Russell
Our
Stover.
Our emergency food bank in Saline County used to offer classes, food classes, to teach people how to cook. Anymore, home economics is not prevalent in every high school. Not all students have the opportunity to learn proper nutrition and simple ways to cook food. They rather just go out and get the ready-made ones. It's a lot cheaper because their cooking skills are limited. And so also their management skills too.
Well, there are programs where you're teaching children to cook simple foods in the kitchen. I have seen some things on a television program that someone would go into a family's, or go into a home, take the food that they would get from their food bank, their food pantry or whatever, and they would work with children. And they said if children start cooking and you make it fun with them, and they were using like some different unusual vegetables or something that children might not like. And so there's lots of different things. And I think we can all find ways, probably ways that I can't even think of, that things that people could do in their area. And we all have unique areas, that communities.
One of the services of our extension office, along with the public library, is that they had book cooks. It was a storage bin, and you would have a reading book, therefore helping literacy. And the book would have some kind of food related, like stone soup. And they would have a recipe and they would be given the equipment to borrow and they would make that recipe.
Okay. Okay.
That's a really cool idea.
Mhm.
There are some good ideas listed in the chat. That we could actually take action on. Or do something with them.
So Jean had asked, why they can't sell the ones that are contaminated if they can like have that on the label. Do you know anything about that, Connie?
Okay, I think Scott probably knows a little bit about that because Oregon did a lesson on like expiration dates or, best buy dates. There is, okay, those are sometimes suggested dates. So food that does have an expiration date is still probably good after that for a while. Again, I know that my son, the company he worked for, they went to a food distribution center and repackaged food for a food, for food pantry. And they said that those are expiration dates. Those foods are good after that for a certain period of time. Now, even at that, you should never open a can or use a can that has a bulge in it or that is dented or things like that. But there's a certain period of time after that that the food is good and they can use that. Foods like from a restaurant, they have to be very careful. I guess my husband and I were talking about this at supper time. He's talking about someplace that McDonald's, or he had been he'd seen something that they have their garbage dumpsters locked up because so that people can't go through the dumpsters. And I said, well, if they would give them away, they have to be taken out of production after so a certain period of time in the bins. And if they would do that, and then if someone would get sick, then the restaurant has a liability, or they have a responsibility there, because what if someone got sick with that? So that's, I think, part of the thing that kind of makes restaurants a little scared to donate things. And I think sometimes with like grocery stores, and it said in the program that it's just easier to put it in the dumpster than it is to try to find some way to someone to take it. And in our community, I think, I don't know that there's that many people that would really that would come and take it. We're so rural, that it's hard to try to, get the food to the right person.
So Connie, this, I can give a few comments. I actually wrote or developed the lesson and taught it on the, how about a date or dates on food products, and on actual food, there is no expiration date. It's a fallacy, and it'll say sell by, best by, those type of things. And the only thing that has expiration on it is obviously prescriptions, which is not food, and infant formula. And infant formula is the only one that has an expiration date. And I call it the one of the biggest scams in the United States. And I also found out when I did that different products that are canned by the same company are sent to various different stores, and the store tells them what date to put on there, Best Buy. And lots of that stuff is good way after that. One of them is eggs, and eggs can be, if you keep them in the refrigerator in the back or where it's nice and cool, they can be 6 months, but that's not what it says on the container. It'll say Best Buy. And it just comes right down to it. It just parallels Connie's lesson on that. And that lesson is available on the Oregon FCE website under lessons. If you want to go download that, it has a PowerPoint with it. Connie did tell me that someone in Nebraska taught that lesson. So, and it goes right along with what Connie's got there. But the big thing they pointed out on that is use your nose, your eyes, and your brain. Because sometimes things are not, you know, the consumer, they want the consumers to look at the date and throw it away. That's exactly what they want. So you'll go buy some more.
Yep. That's
Thank you,
right.
Connie. Very good, and a lot of good information. Hopefully, we will be able to use this and come up with some programs. Is Artis here? I
I'm
think
here.
there you are. Would you like to share some of what you shared this afternoon about how maybe we can use this?
I will. And when you guys are talking about teaching children to cook, our extension agents here in Eddy and Foster County, anyway, in North Dakota, they do children cooking virtually. They do that for the kids in the 2nd and 3rd grade, and they give them a list of ingredients from a recipe, and they put them on Zoom and they cook. So they can learn, and they just are simple things. So it's easy to have them do. So, but ACWW with the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations advocates the importance of family farming, which has to do with, Connie was talking about agriculture, women's land rights, indigenous seed protection, food security, and sovereignty. As Connie noted, and in the chat it was, that National FCE members, Connie, Judy, Bonnie, and Artis, with the help of ACWW office, helped write up a resolution to be voted on at the triennial. It says, be it resolved that ACWW facilitate both action and advocacy on the issue of food waste, recognizing that food waste occurs throughout the global food supply chain. Individuals are to consider ways to reduce food waste in their family and community. Societies are to put together programs, and everyone is to work on raising awareness of the causes of food waste. There have been resolutions and recommendations for us to work on since 1947, and many of them pertain to some form of nutrition and food, along with food waste in many forms. After triennial, National FCE will put a plan together regarding food waste and the various ways that we can help. And there was a lot of good ideas brought out in Connie's lesson and on our chat here. I hope somebody's making a printed copy of that so we can have that to look at when it comes time to do this, put things together. But I think this is a very important issue that we can be working on, because it doesn't have to be done as a group. I mean, it can be, it'll be a group project, but yet it can be an individual that's able to work on something in their community of helping with food waste. There are just a couple other things that I would like to mention that go along with ACWW. April 29th is the day of Women's Walk the World, to raise awareness and funds for rural women in action. Members all over the world join together for this common event or close to that date. If you're not able to walk, there are many other ways you can partake with those around the world. Globe walking in the library, or a knit-a-thon visiting around ACWW projects around the globe. More information can be found on our website under ACWW. The other thing is that a couple of years ago, ACWW, I think it was the last triennial, in fact, they wanted to raise awareness of rabies and try to have 0 rabies by 2030. It is one of the sustainable goals, and Margaret Mai and Martha wrote a program about rabies. I know we have that out there. It was given at this last conference. But they actually put it in progress. They held a rabies clinic this past November. To set this up, you would need to contact your local vet clinic or a humane society and work with them. These Southwest can be found on the state project page on our website, also under state project. There's pictures and there's a list of what they did and how you can go about finding out what to be done. I just think that this is a really great project, and Connie did a wonderful lesson for us on food waste, which, I think some of us know that there is food waste out there, but we maybe didn't know to the extent and why it was happening. I need to quit cleaning my fridge and eat what's in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Artis. Artis is also serving as our ACWW coordinator. Is that what they're calling it?
Yep.
Coordinator. She represents National FCE on a board of coordinators. All societies may have one. I'm not sure if they all do, but they may have one. And then they're meeting with Bonnie on planning some things. And you'll probably come up with some ideas there too on how to implement some of the things that happen at Triennial. And now we're going to hear from Bonnie on ACWW.
All right. Before I get started on ACWW, I just want to, I mentioned this in the earlier session. I can remember meeting for mid-year leadership conferences. And this is just so much better. We're getting a lot of information. We're learning. We're getting an FCL lesson, but we don't have to pay the price for a motel room or the travel to get there. So I, for one, I'm grateful for this virtual world that we live in now. I do have a few updates concerning ACWW for you. Just this morning, I received an email from ACWW, and it is a letter from the world president, Magdi Dikak, and she was actually at the 67th Commission on the Status of Women, the United Nations Commission Status of Women meeting in New York. There, she said there were around 9,000 women, now 9,000 women from all over the world, and are gathered to participate in 2,000 plus events of discussions and negotiations on the Commission of the Status of Women. She said that on March 8th, which is International Women's Day, they hosted a program at this Commission of Status of Women, and the name of it was Rural Women as Agents of Change, Less Talk and More Action. She said in her introduction, she noted that in 2018, the important role of rural women as critical agents in the eradication of poverty was recognized, but certain questions come to mind when this topic's being discussed. What does this really look like in real life? And what about all the social change needed for this to happen and to become a reality? She said, how does violence against women impede progress? And as Connie brought up in her talk about the war zones, all of this works to impede women getting the things that they really need, not just women, but women and families. So I'd like to encourage you to go to the ACWW website. That is acww.uk.org. And there, look under a tab called Our Work. There you'll find several of the recorded sessions of the CSW, so you can watch those. They'll be on the website for a while, so you are able to watch some of those. It'll help you gain a better understanding of what ACWW does and why it's important for FCE to be involved in the programs of ACWW. Many of you know, and some do not, that National FCE was one of the first organizations in the United States to join ACWW in the 1930s. Our original name that we joined ACWW was the National Home Demonstration Clubs. And we also had quite a group of other organizations that were in that with us. We have a really long history with ACWW. On the ACWW website, under the Our Work tab, you'll also find a link to resources for members. That area is full of great resources to help you learn and understand a little bit more about ACWW. There is a list of all of the resolutions and recommendations that members have passed since 1947. Those resolutions represent the work of ACWW and the work that we as member societies need to accomplish to make the world a better place for all. Now, something that's really exciting coming up, the Triennial Conference in 50 days is starting, and it said 12 hours this morning. I haven't gone back to see what it is now. I think it's probably about 6 hours, 50 days and 6 hours before it starts. I am really excited to attend and represent all of the United States societies at that conference. The delegates will vote on the resolutions that have been presented. And there's also on that Our Work, a list of the resolutions that are being voted on this year so that you'll know what up-to-date things we're doing. Now, for your part in this, they are, for the first time ever, offering the opportunity to attend the Triennial World Conference online. There is a link under, it's not under Our Work, it's under More, I believe, and it'll take you to the conference page, the 2023 Triennial Conference page. And on there, you can register to attend that conference online. So it will cost, it says 75 pounds, and I think the last time I checked, it was about $83. This will register you for online attendance, and you'll receive an automated email to confirm that you've been registered. Then near the time, you'll be sent a special website link and a password so you can access the private online conference page. You'll be able to watch the conference live as well as access a whole host of additional benefits. So what do you get as you register for that? Well, number one, you'll be able to watch all of the conference business sessions. And you'll also be able to see the opening ceremony that will be held in the presence of His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Queen of Malaysia. You'll be able to see the Thanksgiving ceremony and the closing ceremony. There will be video updates and highlights from cultural events and other activities throughout the conference. In addition, they will send you a conference pack. We'll have a copy of the program and additional information, and you'll even get your own online participant conference badge. Throughout the week, they will post updates, mini videos, and photos. You'll get a PDF recipe cards so you can cook along and enjoy the meals that will be served throughout conference. Then after conference, you can rewatch sessions, and they will update the page with photos and other updates, allowing you to catch up in your own time and time zone, especially if it's inconvenient, which it is for most of us over here. So there again, that is something that ACWW is doing to encourage people to attend online. And I see a chat saying the room capacity is reached, so registration has closed. Yes, registration for the normal conference, the in-person conference has closed, but you can register for the online. If you scroll down further, I think you can find that. Rita, I can send you the actual where to go to find that if you can. We did, our goal was 400 people attending that conference, and we actually have 454, I believe, and then they had to shut it off because the rooms were full. So if anybody has any other questions, don't hesitate to email me. And also I mentioned this morning that because we as ACWW are under English law, we have to abide by their global data protection regulations. That means that I cannot just automatically add you to the ACWW emails that I send out. So if you send me an email requesting to get a copy of my newsletter and any other updates that I send out to the members, you are welcome to do that. But I would have to have you saying, please add me to the email, and then I can send that to ACWW and get you added to that. You can get around that by becoming an ACWW individual member, which the information is on that website also. And I'd like to encourage a lot of you to join ACWW. National FCE really has a good handhold with ACWW, and there's a lot that we can do to support each other. Thanks, Judy.
Thank you, Bonnie, and thank you for all you do for ACWW. I know you work diligently taking care of business. So we are at the end of our lesson, and it turned out just like we thought it would, about 90 minutes. We have a couple of minutes here. If anyone has any questions, I would encourage you to contact Scott or myself or one of the board members. We would be glad to help you with anything. Thank you for coming tonight. It was good to see all of your faces. And please register for our conference in August. Does anybody have anything else?
The both of these sessions have been recorded. Session 1's already on the website. Session 2 will be on there probably tonight.
Thank you.
And yes, Scott, I can stay a few minutes.
Okay.
Bonnie, why don't you stay too, because I have a question,
Okay,
an ACWW question.
I did get an answer back. You should have gotten that email also today.
Okay.